In a quiet African village lived a humble farmer named Kofi, a man known for his honesty, his hard work, and his love for his family. But when poverty weighed heavily on his shoulders, temptation came knocking in the form of Chief Oba, a man with promises of wealth beyond imagination. At first, it seemed like the gods had blessed Kofi, showering him with riches and respect, but hidden beneath the glitter of gold was a darkness that demanded a price far greater than he ever expected. This is the story of how one man's desire to provide for his family led him down a path of fear, betrayal, and sacrifice. A tale that reminds us all true wealth is never found in gold, but in love, integrity, and the choices we make. Once upon a time, in a distant African village, there lived an old man named Kofi. Kofi was not a wealthy man, but he had something far greater, a loving and joyful family. He worked as a farmer, though he did not own a farm of his own. Instead, he labored on the fields of others, ensuring that his wife and children were never left wanting. His wife Amma was graceful and hardworking. Each morning, with a smile on her face, she prepared baskets of fruits and vegetables to sell at the market. Though life was not easy, Amma's spirit brought light and strength to the family. Kofi and Amma were blessed with 3 children, 2 sons, Kwame and Kojo, and a daughter, Ajwa, who was bright and kind. Their home was simple, but it was filled with laughter, warmth, and love. Each evening, when Kofi returned home, weary from work, Amma welcomed him with a warm meal, and the children would run to embrace him. Together, they shared stories, jokes, and the kind of happiness that money could never buy. But life outside their home was not always kind. Kofi's friends in the village were wealthier than him, and with time, many began to distance themselves. At village gatherings, they treated him as if he were less than them. One day, when Kofi joined them at a feast, they mocked him and forced him to clear their plates, laughing at his poverty. Though deeply hurt, Kofi reminded himself that his family mattered more than the cruelty of others. He endured humiliation after humiliation. Some villagers made him work long hours in the burning sun without proper pay. Others demanded he wash their clothes or clean their homes in exchange for a few coins. Kofi swallowed his pride, for his children's hunger left him with no other choice. Yet, no matter how unfairly he was treated, Kofi never gave up. Each dawn, he arose determined to provide for his family. His strength came not from wealth, but from the love he held for them. One harvest season, Kofi saw an opportunity. He approached Chief Azuka, the wealthiest man in the village, whose farm stretched farther than the eye could see. "Good morning, Chief Azuka," Kofi greeted respectfully. "I wish to work on your farm for the harvest. My 2 sons are strong. They can help as well." The chief studied him and finally agreed. "Very well, Kofi. You and your sons may begin tomorrow. I need strong hands for this harvest." At dawn the next day, Kofi, Kwame, and Kojo set off for the chief's farm. They worked tirelessly beneath the scorching sun, their bodies drenched in sweat, their hands raw from the labor. Even when heavy rains poured down, they did not stop. Together, father and son formed a strong team, determined to prove themselves and bring home the fruits of their hard work. Day after day, Kofi and his 2 sons toiled on Chief Oba's vast farm. Their hands grew rough, their backs ached under the burning sun, yet not a word of complaint left their lips. They worked with quiet determination, knowing that every drop of sweat meant food and happiness for their family. Finally, after many long days, the harvest was complete. The crops were packed neatly into sacks and stored in the chief's barns. Kofi wiped the sweat from his brow, his chest swelling with relief. Turning to his sons, he said, "We did it. Now let us go to Chief Oba for our payment." Kofi approached Chief Oba respectfully. "Chief, we have finished the harvest. May we receive our wages?" Chief Oba nodded, pressing some coins into Kofi's hand. "Here is 1/3 of what I owe you. Return tomorrow for the rest." Kofi frowned. Never before had the chief asked him to return later for his wages, but he bowed, thanked him, and left. At home, he handed the money to his wife, Amma. "Cook a good meal tonight. The children deserve it after their hard work." That night, though their bellies were full, Amma noticed her husband lying awake. "Why do you look so troubled, Kofi? Did something happen at the chief's farm?" Kofi sighed. "Chief Oba did not pay me in full. He asked me to come again tomorrow for the rest. I worry, for he has never done this before." Amma clasped his hand on his shoulder. "Do not worry. You have worked hard, and God sees all things. Whatever comes, we will face it together. Let us enjoy this evening with the children." The next morning, Kofi returned to Chief Oba's compound. As he walked through the large gates, his heart carried both hope and unease. He needed his wages, but something about the chief's manner yesterday gnawed at him. To his surprise, Chief Oba greeted him warmly. "Ah, Kofi, come, sit, share a meal with me." Kofi hesitated, then accepted. The chief's servants brought trays of meat, yam, and palm wine. Yet, even as he ate, he felt the weight of unease pressing on him. When the plates were cleared, Chief Oba leaned back and said, "Kofi, you have labored all your life. You deserve more than a few coins. I can make you rich, without sweat, without struggle." Kofi froze. "What do you mean, Chief? How is that possible?" The chief smiled slyly. "There is a way, an old ritual. No bloodshed, nothing dark, only a small offering. Go to the forest's edge. There you will meet my old friend, a wise man who holds the secret. Do this, and you will never know poverty again." From within his robe, Chief Oba pulled out a bundle of money, far more than Kofi had ever seen. He pressed it into his hands. "Here, take this. 10 times what I owe you. Consider it a taste of what awaits." Kofi's hands trembled. His heart pounded. Never had such wealth rested in his grasp. He bowed low. "Thank you, Chief Oba. I will think about your words." At home, Amma's eyes widened when she saw the bundle. "Kofi, where did you get this?" He explained everything. "The chief says it is only the beginning. He wants me to meet a man in the forest for a ritual. No bloodshed, he says. But Amma, my heart is not at peace." Amma clasped his hands. "Husband, we have always lived honestly. Riches that come too easily often bring sorrow. Be careful, Kofi. Do not let greed lead you into darkness." Kofi nodded, but that night he could not sleep. The coins glistened in the firelight, whispering promises of an easier life. He wrestled with his thoughts for days, torn between caution and temptation. At last, as the sun sank one evening, he made his choice. "Amma," he said quietly, "I have decided. Tomorrow, I will go to the forest's edge. I will meet this man." Amma's eyes filled with worry. She wanted to protest, but the resolve in her husband's voice told her his mind was set. Amma looked into her husband's eyes, her voice trembling. "Kofi, please, be careful. Our family's happiness means more than all the wealth in the world. Promise me you will come back safe." Kofi pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. I promise, Amma. This is for our future. I will return. The next morning, Kofi made his way to the forest edge. The trees loomed tall and thick, their branches whispering like spirits sharing ancient secrets. His heart pounded faster with every step. Finally, he reached a small hut. An old man with a long white beard and piercing, wise eyes stepped out. Ah, Kofi, the man said, his voice deep and unsettling. Chief Oba told me you would come. Are you ready for the ritual? Kofi's voice quivered, but he nodded. Yes, I am ready. The old man led him into a clearing where a circle of stones lay etched with strange symbols. The air grew heavy as the old man began to chant in a low, rhythmic voice. Kofi stood in the circle, fear and anticipation battling in his chest. The old man handed him a small bowl filled with dark oil. Rub this upon your skin. No blood will be shed. The gods will grant you wealth. But remember, every blessing carries a price. Be wise with what you receive. Kofi's hands trembled as he rubbed the oil across his arms and chest. At once, warmth surged through his body, spreading like fire beneath his skin. The chanting grew louder, the air shimmered, and the old man placed his hands upon Kofi's head. It is done. You are chosen. The gods will bless you with riches. But never forget, wealth comes with responsibility. He pressed a small pouch into his hand. Inside, gold coins glimmered brightly. This is only the beginning. More will come. Go now. Care for your family. Kofi bowed, thanked the old man, and hurried home, his heart a storm of fear and excitement. When Amma and the children saw the pouch of gold, their eyes widened in wonder. Amma held one coin between her fingers, almost afraid to breathe. Kofi, is this real? Kofi smiled weakly, hugging his family. Yes, the gods have blessed us. Our lives will change for the better. That night, the family celebrated. The children laughed, Amma smiled, and Kofi allowed himself to believe that the risk had brought only good. Yet, deep inside, a shadow of unease lingered. In the days that followed, their simple home transformed. Gold coins filled clay pots, fine clothes replaced old rags, and beautiful ornaments adorned every corner. Kofi, once the poorest man in the village, became one of its wealthiest. The villagers were astonished. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. How did Kofi become rich overnight? Some said he had discovered hidden treasure. Others believed he was blessed by the gods themselves. Old friends who had once mocked his poverty now returned, eager to sit at his table, praise him, and enjoy his hospitality. Kofi welcomed them cautiously, but he never forgot how they had abandoned him before. At home, his children enjoyed their new life. Plenty of food, fine clothes, and endless laughter. Amma, too, rejoiced in their comfort, but deep in her heart, unease lingered. One evening, as they sat in their newly furnished room, she looked at him with searching eyes. Kofi, I am happy to see our children smiling, but tell me truly, how did this happen so quickly? Where does this wealth come from? Kofi took her hand, his gaze steady. The gods have seen our struggle and chosen to bless us. I made a promise and they have fulfilled it. You need not fear, Amma. She sighed, the doubt refusing to leave her heart. I trust you, Kofi, but remember, wealth can bring as much trouble as joy. Be careful. Kofi nodded solemnly. I will always protect our family. This blessing will not destroy us. Weeks passed, and his riches multiplied. He bought land, livestock, and finally began his own farm. The villagers' curiosity only grew, yet Kofi kept the truth of the ritual locked within his heart. Still, Amma watched him closely. She noticed the distant look in his eyes, the heaviness in his steps, as though he carried an invisible burden. She loved him dearly, but she wondered silently if the price of their prosperity was greater than they understood. For now, the family lived in joy, and the village buzzed with tales of Kofi's transformation. But the gods had not yet revealed the true cost of his choice. Word of Kofi's sudden fortune spread like wildfire. The same villagers who had once averted their faces now came to his door with smiles and gifts, eager to know the secret of his overnight wealth. They crowded his grand living room some afternoons, praising him with loud voices and exaggerated warmth, as if their respect had been purchased along with his new clothes. One such afternoon, a group of old acquaintances arrived bearing presents and eager questions. "We are proud of you, Kofi," one of them declared, clapping his hands. "You have achieved so much. Tell us, what is your secret? How did you become rich so quickly?" Kofi smiled politely, but unease gnawed at him. He knew the truth of his fortune was a dark thing, not meant for curious ears. "I have been blessed by the gods," he answered, keeping his voice steady. "They saw my toil and rewarded me." The friends exchanged doubtful looks. One leaned forward, voice low and coaxing. "Come now, Kofi, we are your friends. There must be more to it than a blessing. Share with us. Imagine what we could all do together." They persisted. Day after day, they returned with flattery, gifts, and even offers to share wealth if Kofi would only reveal the source of his riches. "Think of how much more we could achieve," urged another. "If you tell us, we can all be powerful." Kofi felt the old sting of humiliation at their previous abandonment, and he stiffened. The secret was not his to give. It was bound to a ritual he dared not reveal. He kept his answer the same. "I appreciate your offers, friends, but I cannot share what is not mine to give." Their insistence slowly curled into impatience. Some grew cold again, whispering behind his back. Rumors and speculation began to circle. Darker things, whispered accusations that made Kofi's stomach tighten. Despite the bright new furniture and overflowing pots, a longing for the honest days before the gold came tugged at him. He missed the simple, faithful companionship that poverty had once shared with him, even when it had been laced with humiliation. At home, Amma noticed the shadow that had returned to his face. One evening, as they sat together in their finer room, she laid her hand over his and asked softly, "What weighs on you, Kofi? I see worry in your eyes." He sighed, confessing the strain. "They ask and ask about our wealth. They do not believe the gods alone could bless us. I cannot tell them the truth. Their questions never stop." Amma squeezed his hand with quiet resolve. "We have each other. That is what matters. Let them talk. As long as we know the truth, we can face whatever comes." Her faith steadied him. It reminded him why he had taken the risk. He resolved to protect his family and the secret he carried. Then, one evening, as the sky dimmed, a messenger arrived with a terse, chilling note. The old man from the forest had summoned Kofi. The words were brief but heavy, and a cold shiver slid down Kofi's spine. A summons from the forest elder meant only one thing: a demand. Before dawn the next morning, Kofi walked the path once more to the edge of the trees. His heart thudded with dread. When he reached the clearing, the old man awaited him, face as grave as the roots around them. "Kofi," the old man said, his voice carrying the weight of the woods, "the time has come to fulfill your part of the bargain. The gods demand a sacrifice. Kofi felt the ground tilt beneath his feet. What kind of sacrifice? He whispered, throat tight. The old man's eyes did not waver. You must sacrifice your only daughter, Adjua. That is the price for the wealth you were granted. The word struck Kofi like a blow. He staggered back, the world spinning. No, not Adjua. She is my light, my heart. I cannot do this. His voice broke into raw disbelief. The old man's face remained like stone. If you refuse, the gods will take everything from you, your wealth, your mind, your life. They will reclaim what they gave. You have 7 days. Kofi's legs trembled. The thought of losing Adjua, the little girl who chased chickens barefoot, who hummed while sweeping, who slept curled against Amma each night, was unbearable. He could not imagine raising his axe against her or watching the life go from her eyes. He staggered home with the old man's verdict lodged in his chest like a stone. Unable to tell Amma the summons, the thought of speaking the words to her crushed him. He could not bear the look that would follow. Night after night, sleep fled him. Adjua's laughter, which once warmed him, now pierced like a blade because he knew what was demanded. Kofi paced the floor, torn and hollowed by impossible choices. I cannot do this, he whispered to the empty room, but the echo answered him with the old man's ultimatum. 7 days, or the gods take their due. During the day, he watched Adjua play, her small hands shaping clay, her face bright as dawn. Each side of her tightened his chest with guilt. He tried to justify cowardly thoughts. I still have 2 sons. They can carry the name. And the thought sickened him in the light of his daughter's trust. Fear pressed him from every side. The price was clear, the deadline nearer with each sunrise. Kofi knew that whatever path he chose next would shape the fate of his family and test the heart he had promised to protect.
Amma soon noticed the heaviness in her husband's eyes. Kofi, what troubles you? She asked gently. But he could not speak the truth. He only shook his head and muttered, Everything will be fine. His words were empty, his heart storming with dread. The days crawled by, each one heavier than the last. On the 5th day, crushed beneath the weight of fear and the old man's threat, Kofi made the unthinkable choice. His soul resisted, but terror pressed harder. He told himself this act might protect the rest of his family. Still, every beat of his heart screamed that he would never be the same again. That night, with trembling hands, he prepared the bitter drink and the black oil as the old man had instructed. His chest tightened as he mixed the concoction, knowing its purpose was monstrous. He found little Adjua playing outside, her laughter as bright as the stars. Adjua, he called softly. She ran into his arms, smiling with trust only a child could give. Drink this, my dear, Kofi whispered, forcing his voice to sound gentle. And use this oil. It is very important. Adjua hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Okay, father, she said, trusting his words completely. She drank the potion and rubbed the oil on her skin. Within moments, her small body went limp, her breath shallow as she fell unconscious. Kofi's heart shattered. With tears burning his eyes, he carried her into the forest. Each step felt like a stone tied to his soul. At the clearing, he laid her gently upon the earth. Her face was peaceful, unaware of the horror awaiting her. He knelt, weeping, as he lifted the mortar the old man had prepared. I'm so sorry, Adjua, he whispered. His hands shook violently, his chest heaving with grief. Just as he was about to bring the tool down, a piercing cry tore through the night. "Kofi, no!" It was Amma. Her voice was thick with terror and heartbreak. She had followed, fearing something was terribly wrong. Behind her, the villagers rushed in with torches, the forest alight with their flames. They seized Kofi before he could harm his daughter. Amma fell to her knees, gathering Ajwa in her arms, sobbing. "What have you done, Kofi?" she cried, trembling with anguish. The villagers carried Ajwa to the herbalist, praying the effects of the potion could be undone. Kofi was left behind, bound and weeping, his heart broken by the enormity of what he had almost done. That night, tied in his own compound, Kofi heard Amma's quiet sobs as she clutched their daughter, her grief cut deeper than any rope. By dawn, the village had gathered, their voices rising in anger and disbelief. "Kofi must face justice," an elder declared. "We must bring him before the king." Bound and surrounded, Kofi was led to the palace. His head hung low, his spirit crushed. The villagers whispered as they walked, their voices heavy with sorrow and rage. In the grand hall, the king sat upon his throne, his face stern. "Kofi," he said, "is this true?" Weak from the ritual's backlash, Kofi fell to his knees and confessed, "Yes, my king, it is true. I was deceived by Chief Oba. He promised me wealth through a ritual, but I did not know it would demand my daughter's life. He manipulated me. I was blinded by fear." The king's eyes narrowed. He ordered his guards to seize Chief Oba, but word soon returned. The old man had fled, vanishing into the forest, leaving only ruin in his wake. Turning back to Kofi, the king declared, "You have committed a grave sin, but because your daughter still lives thanks to your wife, I will spare your life. Your punishment, however, will be severe. You shall spend the rest of your days in prison, atoning for your deeds. Your wife and children may visit you, but you will never walk free." Tears streamed down Kofi's face as he bowed his head. "Thank you, my king," he whispered, broken. The villagers returned heavy-hearted, carrying with them the tale of what had nearly happened. At the herbalist hut, Amma wept as Ajwa slowly stirred back to life. She held her daughter close, whispering thanks through her tears, though her heart remained shattered by betrayal. In the prison cell, Kofi sat in silence. He had lost everything he had sought to protect. His family, once his greatest treasure, had been scarred by his choices. Yet in that silence, he vowed to spend his remaining days atoning, hoping one day Amma and the children might forgive him. As time passed, his story spread across the village and beyond, a tale of greed, fear, and the terrible price of abandoning integrity. It became a lesson for all that true wealth was not measured in gold, but in the love of family and the strength of character. Though Kofi remained in captivity, his heart found some peace in knowing his failure would serve as a warning to others. And in time, his family, scarred but unbroken, carried forward, living with honesty, love, and the wisdom that no fortune was worth the cost of a soul.